tore it down, I rebuilt it. I give myself a task, you can bet your ass I fulfill it. Yeah, man, I'm talking about realest, one of the realest to try. My family.
We're gonna build a 2-quart canteen cover, which I think you guys have probably already seen. That video is probably already live. This one will have 40mm grenades on the face of it. So I'm gonna make my lids here, just process of elimination, take the parts that we have a bunch of and turn them into less parts. This is making webbing out of Cordura right here. I don't care for the printed webbing very much. I'm gonna take these pieces and turn them into 1.5-inch webbing. This is 3-inch wide. I'm gonna turn them into 1.5 inch. If you're doing a lot of this, you can just cut them continuous. We cut this out of scrap just because it's faster than pulling rolls out and cutting them. We always have tons of scrap around the shop. So, but if you're gonna do a lot of this, and then also there's the question of orientation, right? When you're cutting strips, it's easier to cut them 52, 56 inches wide this way, but then the pattern doesn't fall the way you want it to fall perhaps. Maybe it doesn't matter. Most companies cut it however they can get the most out of it, and you don't get a choice. But you can cut this and then sew it continuous instead of sewing these 4 individual pieces. And then if you're doing that, you can have an edger made that you would just feed that 3-inch into, and you could have a double needle machine set up that would sew along the edge and do it in one pass. And you wouldn't even have to feed strips. You would just have a long strip, 20 feet, 30 feet, 100 feet long, whatever, 3 inches wide, and you would just feed it, and just as long as you're at have thread in the bobbin, it would sew that thing, bobbins, on a dual needle. And they have slicers too. You can buy a machine that will cut that whole roll of fabric into whatever width you want. That's big equipment though, bigger equipment. Those are usually about 10, 12 feet long, some of them. You're probably not gonna set that up in the living room. Although, if you're doing this to make money, you'll set it up in the living room. Okay, there's those. All right, I know this goes this way. This is my bottom and sides. This is the longest piece here. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this. I'm holding my fingers in between here. I've got one on the bottom, one in the middle, one here. I'm holding these and applying even tension. Not a lot of tension, just enough tension that this doesn't pucker up. What just happened? I wasn't holding this, and now I'm gonna have thread in my, ooh, this is hot. It was sitting there spinning. That little loop of material, I never pulled it off. What in the world is going on? This got so hot that it's, man, I've never had that happen. This must have been sitting here caught, made this loop, and this just sat here and spun and spun and spun. And this bobbin is not wanting to come off of there. There we go. So, rather than fight that later, let's just unwind this. There it is, see, it wrapped back up in there. Let's just pay proper attention to this. We'll get a few wraps on this bobbin here. Run this tail out of here. I should have been holding it. Once it twists a dozen or so times, you can just pull it off of there. Okay, so watch that, stay there. I'm gonna go ahead, I've only got 1 inch or so left here, so I'm just gonna sew it there. Make this, that's a 3-inch piece there. Now I'm on the long run, so I'm gonna run this for real here. Now I'm applying tension, it just comes off. Now it's done, it's not, there's nothing to wrap back around. And now we're back sewing. So let's take this. I had tension, now I'm pulling tension here. To get this to lay. Start sewing fast, the machine cut the thread. If I turned that motor down, it wouldn't do it.
Is that a hard process to do?
Turn the motor down?
Yeah.
No, it's literally a rheostat, a potentiometer. You just turn it down a click. But I don't want it to sew slower. I just need to get under there and figure out where the burr is or what it is.
I think it's just a burr catching the thread as it passes through.
Yep, somewhere. Could be needle plate. Well, it could be V-dub.
It's warping and grabbing it or something.
Yeah, just it's something in there. Yeah. Usually they'll smooth themselves out. If you deal with it long enough, it'll just kind of stop doing it a lot of times. All right, so we're back to the lids here. I just don't like to cut things apart. I like to keep them, I like to sew straight into the next piece rather than having to have and re-thread this. So I'm gonna take edge tape. There's some other pieces that need edge, so I've got multicam edge tape. Multicam edge tape costs a lot more than solid color edge tape, so you're probably not gonna put this here, but I didn't wanna have to go back and grab something else in there. So I'm just gonna run this right down the middle here. All we're doing is covering up this seam here. You will see people do this where they sew down the middle and then it's puffy on the edges. You'll see people do it where they have 4 passes of stitching. Then to cover it, you'd have 6. I'm just gonna cover this right here. I'm applying tension on the edge tape. I'm holding these lids. Watch, can you zoom in on this? So here's the tension, right? It goes from, see how it's kind of wavy? When I pull on it, it lays a little flat, right? So that's what I'm after. I'm applying tension on the edge tape, and I'm actually doing it here with my thumb, doing the same thing. I'm just kind of pulling back. Get to where you sew everything that way, and none of your shit will look pillowy and puffy, and you want everything to lay flat. Why? For aesthetics. It's not going to change anything. Because it looks more expensive. It looks proper that way. Now I've got enough here. I'm going to go ahead and cut this off. It's out of my way. And now this is already attached, so when I pull, it's pulling them both evenly. You can see how it pulls them down. Here, I'll go to the pedal here, and I'll just apply tension. It'll sit in the exact same spot and just stack stitches just through tension, just by how much I grip it. Normally I'll do this on the rope cutter in there, the hot knife. These are the 4 individual lids for the 40 mics, 40 millimeter grenades. There I am, hunched over again. You guys who sew, I have a big industrial roll of toilet paper, like commercial toilet paper. I always have it sit next to the machine. You can buy those super cheap. They come in a case of like 12 from Uline or Amazon. You just keep that next to your machine. You can use paper towels, but the toilet paper is way cheaper. You can just take that stuff, wipe your machine off. There's oil all over everything, you don't realize it. Wipe your forehead. I was gonna do it, I don't have any. If I wipe my forehead, it would be like yellow, like sewing machine oil. Just from, because we've been sewing today, we've been doing all kinds of stuff. You get dirty, but you don't even realize that you're dirty. All right, what did I wanna make these loops at? Everything we normally do is right at 1 inch, which is probably what these are, even though it doesn't translate. And then also, where's your pattern? How do I want this pattern to be? I like that side better. So this will be the pull piece. When you make your master, always go off your master. Don't translate forward, your mark will shift. This way we don't have to measure every time. Now when you're learning to sew this, you might want to take these and tack these down like so and put a stitch in them and sew them all. But you'll get, as you get better, you'll stop doing that and you'll hold that there. You'll overlap your Velcro right here and you will just sew it on in place. And we're going to start there. That's one line of stitching. Again, I'm applying tension. I'm holding everything. I'm pulling this way as I'm sewing. I'm going to go ahead and cut these off so that I don't have to fish them out later. I don't have to worry about contending with those tails. Right there. Now that's that first line of stitching we went over. We're going to now put a second line in it, lock it in. Now it is done. We don't have to worry about it. If you want to put a line down the middle, you can put a line down the middle of it if you want to. Now it's done. That's what it looks like. When you guys are learning to sew, when you're sewing through hook Velcro, a lot of times it'll somehow cut your thread. A lot of that's just how your machine is tuned, and it's just something you're doing usually. Now, if you're sewing through hook Velcro underneath, like you have to work on the other side of the project and this Velcro is down, a lot of times it will catch, it'll catch your thread and it'll separate your thread and start to cut one of the strands of your thread. This is twisted thread. It's multiple strands, just like making rope or cord. At the end, I'm just back tacking forward, backwards a couple times, locks it in. That thread's never coming out, that Velcro's never coming off. Now, when you build your stuff with warranty in mind, if you plan on your product being out there 20, 30 years, and you've sewn it and built it in a manner that you can't disassemble it without destroying it, that might be an issue to you also if you have a lifetime warranty on things. All right, these were the 40 mic. I overlapped these quite a bit to give it a little bit of structure. All right, so I'm going to fold this in half. Basically, I'm going to double it right here. You could do this. We're going to go through here and do this. You could do this in one pass if you can. If you're, depending how your tension on your machine is, you might find that you just lost almost a 1/4 inch sewing this. That's why I kind of pull on it at the same time. Now I'm pulling, I'm laying it flat, I'm pulling in diagonal. I don't want any billowing or pillowing. What's the difference between pillowing and billowing? Somebody tell me, what's the difference between billowing and pillowing? Man, if only we had the answer to every question in the world in our pocket.
I know.
All right, now I'm going to sew this down here. You can feel this is the bite where it folds over, right? That's the alligator mouth. That's the bite. So I'm going to get this to where I want it. It's nice and flat. I'm going to run this up here. And now I'm going to accomplish the same thing going all the way down. When I'm sewing this stitch, I'm about 1 stitch, 2 stitches away from the edge. Now I'm sewing probably 12, maybe 10 stitches an inch. I want that through all 3 layers right there. You don't have to do this. You could totally have these meet up edge to edge and edge tape it. The real truth is, in the real world, if war was coming to your doorstep, you could sew this with no edge tape. At the worst, you might get it to fray, and over time it'll look ratty. You could just call that part of your camouflage. Now I'm going to sew this down. Now what I want here is 3 layers of Cordura here. You could put a piece of webbing in here if you wanted. You do whatever you want. I want a little more structure so it holds the shape of the grenade there. What's a 40 mic round HEDP weigh? Probably a pound, right maybe hair under a pound. I think we're right around a pound, about the weight of a full magazine. So I just want some shape to this. Because of the weight on this, I'm going to make this front 2 layers. And because we're putting heavy shit in here, 2 quarts of water in this canteen. You will see a lot of guys use this for belted machine gun ammo because they already have it on their kit. They can download from water to belt or move their canteen somewhere else, utilize that pouch for belted ammo or for magazines. So it's going to have a lot of weight. No matter what's in here, it's going to be heavy. And so that it's just tighter and rides better, I'm also going to double layer the back piece, which makes the pouch a little heavier, but you're never going to have an issue. You're never going to see this fail, ever. Not that I've seen pals rip off a single layer Cordura, but I do it more just for the structure of it. And again, you might not see it, but I'm pulling opposite directions here. And I'm holding, like when my fingers here, I'm really pushing down. I'm pushing down and moving with the material. That's to keep that in place. I've pulled it, now I'm holding this in so that it can't pucker up, because what I want when I'm done, I want these to act as one piece of material, not 2 independent pieces. I want them nice and flat, as you see here. I don't want any billowing in there. Billowing.
I think you should just change it each time.
We should. We'll really fuck them up. All right. The way I'm doing these, I showed you last video. I've done this on a lot of our stuff in the last couple years. For this radius right here, we're not even cutting them on the cut table, right? If you got a laser or whatever, more power to you. You got some cutting equipment that's programmable, but talking to a dude, you know, in his garage or in, you know, in his living room, whatever, when you're cutting a butt, it's way faster to cut straight lines and a lot of rectangles. We just cut up and then cut across, cut up, cut across. Without having to cut any radiuses or intricate shapes, it's way faster to make these marks here and then just pull. I forgot to bring a thing of thread. Pull this here, mark this here, boom. Now you got your radius. We're applying this wherever. And it can be 1 to 1, it can be 1 1/4, 1 1/4, however big you want that radius to be. I've been doing, like, we did all these 2 quarts at 1 to 1. So, and I'll show you how I make the radius and the canteen lid too in a minute. Also in a minute. No confusion, 2 meaning also, or 2 meaning the number 2, so also. Okay, so if you just start doing that, especially if you're hand cutting stuff, it makes it everything consistent through all your projects. You never have to guess or wonder what you did on that one, right? I'm not even gonna cut them yet. I think that I am missing a lid for this project. Okay, so that's the base, that's the face, that's the lids. All right, I know I cut, I must have left it in there. I'm missing all the pals webbing and stuff. One of these things is not like the other one. There we go. All right. And if you build everything on center, then it's also easy. So right here, I'm going to find center. There's the center. I know that that PALS column needs to be 1.5 inches, 1.5 inches. The next one's 1.5 inches and 1.5 inches. So now all I have to do is go straight. If you can do perpendicular, then you can just eyeball it. This ruler, when I make my mark, drops it right at 1.5 inches, so it's perfect. So get you a ruler that's right at or just a hair under 1.5 inches. Maybe I'm mistaken here. 4.5 inches. This one's off, that's why, okay. So just like that. Now I've got my marks right here on the bottom, 1 inch and 1 inch. Those are my marks for my cone of thread. Now I'm just going to take these and I'm going to sew these right into place for my PALS webbing. Use that as my spacer. I'm going to jump right across that into this one. When you do this, when your foot hits this, it'll move it. So I'm going to hold this down really well so I don't get any travel until that needle struck through there. And I'm going to go right into the next one here. Now you can go straight to the next one or you can jump. I jump a couple. I don't know why I do that, but
it's worked before. You just keep doing it.
Everything I've done's pretty much works.
You probably never tried it any other way.
Ooh, you know what? I think I said we were gonna do these. No, I guess we did them this way. I guess that's how I finalized them. We built 12 different iterations, 12 different changes to the 2 quart from what we used to make. And it was the lid, and the lid was, so I was making it, I was moving the PALS webbing lower and lower so the lid can be lower so that it would cup over the top. And I'm like, why are we even doing this? So I completely redid everything with it. I was making it cup over because the surplus one did, but you guys that have surplus 2 quarts, or you old guys that carried 2 quarts, did you ever see a 2 quart carrier that was left and right? I'm gonna say you didn't. I don't think they were ever made a issue, you know, surplus, military surplus issue, left, right 2 quart. I think they were all one direction. And that's what I wanted here, was something that could be ambidextrous. I'm not tacking these down as much because we're gonna sew the shit out of them in a minute. These aren't functional on the side here, these little ones. I just run that webbing all the way to the side so I don't have to worry about folding it under or tacking it down. It's going to be sewn inside a seam and concealed. You'll never see it. That's why I did that like that. So we're to this point now. I'm gonna go ahead and round this corner here. And I'm gonna round this corner right here. Now, I'm gonna put this piece on. This is the side and bottoms right here. I'm gonna sew this. This is a clean seam. The reason I did it, instead of doing 2 3-inch pieces, I did 2 6, so I could fold it in half so that this is very clean, so that when I sew this on the back piece, there's way less bulk because I didn't have to hem it or do anything with it. I'm gonna take these 2 raw edges here, and I'm gonna start right here at the top, and I'm gonna sew right on the edge. I'm gonna tack this in here. I'm gonna come right down here to that turn, to that corner, and I'm just gonna kick this in a little bit to where I can see about a 1/2 inch. I'm going to sew that, and then I'm going to adjust, and you're going to look at this whole turn here as 2 stitches at a time. Now we're going to come right into here. I'm not pulling on this material. I'm just getting it where I need it so that I can expose it and see it. Couple stitches, couple more, move it, couple more. Now we'll travel up. Now I've got extra material here. We could totally push it and mash it in and pleat it. I know that this is a little long right here. I am going to take this, because this is how we're going to sew the whole thing. I'm going to leave it on there for a minute. Now I'm going to come right inside this stitch line here. That just held it in place. Now I'm going to tack it right inside, about a stitch over, and put a second line right beside the first one. This just gives me more meat to work with for my next step. Now that's in place. Now I'm going to cut this off flat. Depending how you sew, how you stretch your material, where you put your hands, if that's too short, you could cut it back off and then stretch it, and it'll fall into place or whatever. I just cut it because I know I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and it's going to mirror it. Now I've got 2 lines here holding this in. I'm going to top sew this here. I'm going to lay this here. This is going to lay flat. We're going through 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of material here, and we're sewing 5, 6 here, plus the layers of webbing. I'm just sewing right here. I'm going to tack this in, and I'm right on the edge of this project. And I'm sewing all that together, which really means I'm a good probably 1/2 inch into the edge of this top material here. Now when you get to that turn, you got to pull this way, and you got to move with the turn so that that material lays flat. We don't want that bubbled up, pillowed or billowed. Now we're back on the flat, and we want to make sure that our work didn't flip under this way either. We want it all to be flat on the back piece. Why? I don't know. You can do it however you want. That thing's nice and tacked in there. It's never coming out of there. If you need another line of stitching to make you feel comfortable, you can re-sew over that 4 or 5 times if you want. I know there's a weirdo out there somewhere. All right, now to find the center here, to mark this, we know that this is the center. I can just mark this right here, and I know that my grommet's gonna go right there. I can punch that with my die. A lot of times guys will misstrike, or they're scared of the machine, so I like to just make a little tiny X right here. When you're cutting with these scissors, either put just enough in so that if the scissor gets away, the cut doesn't damage, because if you're in the middle and that thing really starts to go, you can cut through it before you know it. So either use the tip or get very far to the end where you have a lot of control for it. So I'm going to just use the tip right here. And I'm not even using the scissors. I have my fingers pushing that blade close. You can get a lot of build done, and you go to put those grommet holes in there, and you slice that, and now that project's ruined. It's not ruined. You can totally sew it and embroider it, kind of embroider it back together, but you can't give it to a customer that way. All right. This is the back of the canteen cover and the bottom face, whatever, right? Nice and clean. I just completely fucked this up. I just completely fucked this up. This should have been the face. This piece should have been the face with the 40 mic. That's all right. It's salvageable. Watch what we do. You're just gonna have this instead of being the back. That edge tape's gonna be on the front. That makes it lay kind of flat on the back, the part that's against your body. Too busy teaching, not paying attention. Because Brandel didn't let me have lunch.
You could have had lunch as much as you wanted.
I'm gonna have 3 lunches as soon as I'm done here.
Probably need about 10 of them after.
I'll probably sweat it off like 4 pounds out here. Might be a pizza night. I haven't had pizza. I think the last time I had pizza was with you. I only do fat boy stuff when you're around.
Not anymore.
Is that a compliment
To myself.
to me?
Oh.
All right, there's that. We know that these are 40 mic. There are 4. We will divide these in half. I think maybe that's 8, 8. Man, that actually worked. All right. I'm gonna use my calibrated eyeball, and so these Velcros right in the middle. Remember with that reinforcement where there's 3 layers there, that's the top. If you're super fancy, I'm out of thread. If you're super fancy, you could use, am I out of thread? Yeah. If you're super fancy, you could use multicam Velcro. Doesn't wear as well for some reason.
Different material?
I don't know if it's different or it's just from printing it, changes it somehow, I don't know. Man down. Damn it, Martha. It's another flaming bag of poop. What time is it?
5:30.
All the girls have skated, they're gone. The guys are still out there. At least Sky is.
What's this like? Sky's always on.
Nah, not always. He'll stay till the job's done, but I'll be like, hey man, this doesn't have to be done. Go ahead and get out of here. Say we needed these to be. What did I make these other ones? 1 1/4, 1 1/2. I think 1 1/4. I don't think they need to be 1 3/4 because the lids were 1 1/2. There are a lot of times when I'm sitting here sewing and I see somebody walk up behind you, and I look up like 5-6 times today. I thought, oh, Cody came back out here, and I look up and there's nobody there.
Probably because you're always looking to see who's out there and still left in there, and so you're just always, especially toward the end of the day, trying to see who's there, who's not.
No, like right here. Because I fabricated this and it's not just webbing, and there's stitching that can come off on here, where this comes in and out of this edge here, I really want to tack it down. That's why I got 3 lines of stitching here. I'm going to tack this back so that it can never peel up. It won't, even if it peeled up, it wouldn't affect the function, but a guy will see that and think it's a problem, want to warranty the pouch. So as long as we tack this down, there's no concerns and there's no possibility of ever having to come back, because that edge tape came off of there. That's why I'm sewing 3 lines there. They're never coming off. So you can work from the left over to the right, center out, whatever you want to do. Tack top, bottom, in case it snags on anything ever. It's never ripping out of there. And then I'm just going to travel back down right there. Now I'm going to do the same thing a few more times here. You can build your pouches for 40 Mike Kim lights, 12 gauge rounds, whatever. You can build them just snug enough that the top won't come through there. I'm going to show you though, I'm going to limit the depth at the bottom, and I'm going to show you in a minute how I do that. You can do yours however you want to do them, whatever works for you. Rather than sewing back up and down, I just tacked it in several times right here. Accomplishes the same thing. Hear that? Bang! Like a guitar string breaking. Is that what it sounds like on a cart? I've never been there for it, but. All right, now I'm going to take these and I'm going to limit the depth right here. I'm just going to come over, you can put them where you need. I usually come over about a presser foot, depending on how your presser foot is, and I'm going to go 1-2 stitches, 1 2 1 2. I'm just barely limiting these. Just like that. And I'll show you. Let me get this all out of the way here, get my fingers out of the way. That cradles that in, and what I'm after is, these are dummy rounds. You can get them right off Amazon. I think they come in a box of 3 or 4. They're plastic. You can make salt shakers, whatever. Man, now it doesn't stay on there. But this goes in here, locks in, and just puckers it in that thing cannot come out of there. These are tall enough. I have made allowance in here so that these will hold loom rounds, which are taller. Diameter is the same. That lid will close all the way down, or it will adjust upward for a loom round. That's how I've made these. You can also, if you want something more realistic for a sample, you can get a spent parachute flare, 40 mic, and then you can get the head out of a Mark 19 round, the aluminum practice round, and they will fit right in. That piece of aluminum will fit into that shell, and it'll give you a proper depth of an HEDP round. It'll also be a truer weight. Man, that split in there. We do these with our chem lights also, just like this. We used to make them to where they were limited. The chem light has that ridge on the top. And then we saw guys getting different chem lights and civilian chem lights and stuff, and they were able to slip through. So we started putting this on the bottom, even on the chem lights. Just keeps them from coming out the bottom. If you wanted a multi-purpose pouch, you could do this to where it would hold pistol mags also, but typically you're gonna want your pistol mag closed on the bottom for the most part, just, you know, so debris or whatever. If you're not worried about it, you could make a multi-purpose pouch that way though. All right, there's those. This is which way? I guess it doesn't matter. We're not doing that anymore. We're doing the Did I see a person? Hey, what's up? No, I didn't see him. Had no idea those guys were there.
Maybe they've been there and that's who you've been seeing.
No. All right, this is the pull tab. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to make this work. I thought about using cord for this instead. I want to be able to access these 40 mic without the lid covering it. So that's the question. How do we get this to come up and come through here? It's not going to function. Tie cord into here, into this seam, run it up, run a piece here that would hold it in place so that the buckle's there. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think on that. We're gonna have to probably go back to clipping it on the side because it's gonna interfere there. But let's go ahead and put it together so you guys can see what it looks like. I'm just not sure how we're gonna do the closure. Are we going to eat dinner or what are we doing? I have no idea. I suspect she's nowhere near ready to go if she's working on the text and email. So you guys are welcome to hang out. I'm going to be a little bit and then I'll have an answer. You don't have to. So that top stitch where I did where that's super clean, unfortunately, I can't do both of them because you can't get inside to do it. So this has to be edge taped. This would normally be on the back and not the front, but we're gonna go ahead and put it on here just to clean that edge up. Yeah, be quiet. We're not going to fold that in or do anything with it because we're going to actually tape over that again, that raw edge there. Go ahead and catch that second seam there. Man, it's pretty perfect. Man, this feels so wrong, putting this piece together backwards like this. Also not sure how it's going to stretch out, so we'll just put this in single, and if it works perfect, we will stitch over it some more, and if it doesn't, we'll come back and adjust it. And adjusting just means you're pulling it more in one direction, or you're stretching it, or if there's too much, we'll just push on it as we're sewing every few stitches, and it'll make little micro pleats in there that you won't even see. See? How in the world did that happen? It fit perfect there. These are the exact same patterns, but I'm coming up almost an inch too much. Now I could make it fit there and just put that little pleat right there, right? I got about 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch too much right there. But the way to fix it properly, and that's why we single stitch this, we know that that's on center. And we know that that is the center. So instead of putting that pleat, we'll push it both directions and we'll end up with no extra material. I still have extra. I just have half as much. So I'm just going to push this back just a little bit. And then once it strikes past, I'm going to push it a little more. I'm going to push a little more. Do not hit your screwdriver. Now your other option was that you just have that excess there, you trim it off, but I want it equal, right? That's why we're starting from the middle. That way it's not cockeyed. Now this one we can start from the top because we know we came from the center on the other one, the other stitch line. And we can just kind of push into this as we're going. Let's make sure that 40 mic's out of the way there and we're not sewing through it. This looks so fucking, this looks so wrong with that flat edge tape face, having built that backwards there. Okay, so that's what that's gonna look like. I have to figure out how I'm gonna make this close. I've got the other one set up perfectly to where it just closes right in the face, right here. Ambidextrous left, right. Open it up, exposes the flat pocket there. With that 40 mic, we could do the same thing where it comes over the grenades, but then you can't access them. I want that lid to fall shorter, and I'm not sure what I'm gonna do yet. So we're gonna call this one done for today. Oh man, I'm allergic to one of you. We're gonna call this done for today, and we're gonna come back next week and have the solution. What do you think that solution will be? I do not know. We will see shortly. That's full build, 2-quart canteen with 40 mic. Leave your comments. If you like these videos, let us know. What do you think the solution here is? What would you have done different? We'll see you guys next week. By the time you guys see this video, we'll probably have this available on the website. But as we record, the 2-quart with the flat pocket on the face is already available. So if you want those, jump on there, order them up, and we will get them out to you. We've also got the 1-quarts to go with them.
I built this thing from the bottom, they tore it down, I rebuilt it. I give myself a task, you can bet your ass I fulfill it. Yeah man, I'm talking about realest, one of the realest to try. My family